Most motivational segment in all sports, 4 o'clock on a Thursday. Also the time where we read some viewer mail. We get satchels of mail for the year 2023, and I am always willing to address your comments and concerns. To be totally honest with you, Ryan and Brian did not write. This is a YouTube comment that I took from the internet, printed, and put in an envelope for the sake of, Thank you.
If the YouTube comment music is the same as the letter music?
It's not supposed to be. This is an error.
Okay, no problem.
It's from a person named Alexander. Broussard is the father who yells at you for losing the remote, and then after 20 minutes of complaining, finds that he's sitting on it, but won't admit he was wrong of this show.
That is so true.
Laughing emoji.
True.
I just
Yes.
Brew, I wanted you to
You know
respond.
how I read that? The wise elder statesman who is objectives and drops knowledge without carrying pom-poms for any teams. I just tell it like it is.
True.
And since I'm telling it like it is, here's this week's Bud List. At number 3, Dan Campbell.
Oh, wow.
Look, Dan, you and your boys, y'all really disappointed me last week. I was starting to believe in the Lions after you went in the Knicks boys' house. And what they do, they put their feet up, they brush their teeth, that, and came away with a victory in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. And then how do you follow it up?
Lost to a great
You
team.
lose the most anticipated home opener in years in Detroit to the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith. I'm starting to wonder now, Dan, are you guys afraid of expectations? Are you guys uncomfortable being the hunted? Because last year you start 1-6. Nobody expects anything anymore, right? You're off the national radar. And then you finish 8-2. But one of those 2 losses came when you were smack dab in the middle of the playoff race. Looks like you could get in. And you lose in week 16 to a sorry Carolina Panthers team. All right, so I'm starting to wonder, does the stage get too big for you and your guys? Now, I do believe in you, but I've got questions. All right, at number 2, but Mac Jones.
Okay.
All right, Mac has played well.
Thank
all
you.
right, as Wiles has been saying, he leads the league in completions. I'm not sure what that means, but it ain't bad. It can't be that bad. I don't know how good it is, but it ain't bad. All right, and you face 2 Super Bowl contenders. So you've kind of gotten a pass. He's 0-2, but he's played well, moral victories and all of that. You got the Jets next. All right, the Jets who arguably have the worst starting quarterback in the entire NFL. The Jets who still, despite the brave face they're putting on, have to be deflated after losing Aaron Rodgers in week 1. All right, the Jets who you guys have beaten 14 straight times, okay? And you can tie the franchise record for consecutive wins over an opponent if you beat the Jets. If you go out, Mac, and lose this game, all of that goodwill you've developed over the last 2 weeks, gone.
Yeah.
All right, at number 1 on this week's Buzz List,
Quickly,
this
do you
is
believe in
obviously.
Mac Jones or no? You believe in Mac Jones?
Wilds believes in you, Matt. I believe a little bit.
Okay.
You should win this weekend. All right, at number 1, Brandon Staley. All right, like I said, this one's obvious. Okay. You just haven't been getting it done. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, best young quarterbacks especially. You have got Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and Derwin James on your defense, and you are ranked 32nd, dead last in the league in defense, and that's supposed to be your side of the ball. You're supposed to be even a defensive guru, and you got players calling you out. Last year was Keenan Allen tweeting as he's watching a game because he's injured. WTF? What in the world are we doing?
I don't know.
And just a week or so ago, it was Austin Eckler. These are 2 leaders on your teams. Austin Eckler saying, am I right? WTF? Yeah. Austin Eckler.
Back to it.
You're in my ear. I'm like, did I say something wrong?
No.
Austin Eckler said the coaching hasn't always been great. All right, he called out the coaching. Now, there were those that thought you should have been leaving the building, fired, after you gave up that 27-0 lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. And yeah, the Prince. All right. But if you lose this game, you'll be 0-3. And Minnesota, I know they got, a nice offense, but no defense. Then those screams for your neck will grow louder and louder. All right, so Brandon Staley, I believe that you better win. That's this week's Bud.
Excellent as always.
I like the Bud list. Dan Campbell was a shocker there. But I got a kind of curveball, too, because I thought Dan Campbell was kind of a curveball, but I just can't get over a couple things that has transpired this week. So I'm putting Mahomes Mountain.
Ooh, wow. The whole segment.
On the Bud list. Yes, the Mountain. So it's pretty much Mahomes is going on the Bud list. And it's under investigation. Mahomes Mountain is definitely under investigation because I believe it's rigged. Because when you look at why Mahomes is a great quarterback, do these numbers support that? 24th in completion percentage for Patrick Mahomes, 18th in yards per, 9th in touchdown to interception ratio. These aren't top of the mountain type numbers for a quarterback that we all deem to be the best in the business. He just signed a new deal, taking all the money from everybody that's wearing the same uniform of him. Oh, yep, I'm saying that right now. This matters. It makes my point. When I think about who should be on top of the mountain, it doesn't look like it should be Patrick Mahomes with those numbers. That is not all the support that you had coming in week 1. 30 points a game, and they don't lose and all that. They've been losing. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the same. Yes, he hasn't had Travis Kelce at times, but can he make these guys better? Is it just about the guys failing him, or has he failed them?
Wow. All right, Greg Jennings going down there. Everybody knows how I feel about Patrick Mahomes. When some people were wondering, is this guy a flash in the pan? Is he for real? I was the first one on record. Jordan-esque, the best ever, book it. All right, so I love Patrick Mahomes. However, I am objective. All right, y'all know that. You're mocking me, but it's just objectivity. And Patrick Mahomes right now, Nick.
Come on now.
I'm sorry. He shouldn't be atop the mountain right now. We're not saying he's not the best quarterback in the league, but he shouldn't.
Wait a second.
He hasn't played that way.
Wait, real quick. Who's the best quarterback in football?
Yeah, we're going to say that all year. Even if he has a bad year.
Well, then it sounds like he deserves to be atop of the mountain named after him. But this is not Mahomes Mountain. That's Tuesdays. And luckily, he won't be here next Tuesday, so you're going to have to just watch it from home. I am adding Bryce Young to the Bud list. Wow. So Bryce Young, through his first 2 starts, they've been a little inglorious. He has 299 yards passing total. And it's like, they're not letting him throw. No, he's thrown the ball 71 times. So that's 4.2 yards per attempt. He has looked shaky. Then there has been these news stories that, why'd you have to put Andy Dalton in the game? Like, we won't let Bryce Young do quarterback sneaks. We're afraid he's going to get lost under there or something. I'm not sure exactly what they. Listen, there was different reporting, and now he's already banged up, which was, of course, for some of us the concern that a guy that size would not be able to last for a career, maybe not last for an entire season. And the Panthers are saying he might miss this week, but that's not actually any of that. What made me put him on the Bud list? Here's what made me put him on the Bud list. I, this week, was considering picking Seattle over Carolina in some survivor pools I'm in. When I heard Bryce Young was out, I got more nervous for Seattle. And I was like, that was a moment where I said, wow, right now, I think that Andy Dalton on his 5th team is a better option for them to win any given week than the number 1 pick of the draft. Now, obviously, you play the guy when he's healthy because you invested the number 1 pick in him, you traded up for it. But it is off to a rather inauspicious start when we have seen C.J. Stroud throw for 380, and when Anthony Richardson, granted he got banged up, but Anthony Richardson has looked dynamic at times. Bryce Young, of the 3 guys, is the one that hasn't even had a moment yet. That's concerning.
You make good points, and look, he was banged up a little bit at Alabama. So, you do worry about the size. Obviously, it's too early to write somebody off.
And I'm not trying to do that.
Right. But Andy Dalton probably is better at this moment than Bryce Young, and everybody's going to develop differently. Jordan Love's now leading the league in touchdowns, but probably wouldn't have done that a year or 2 ago. So maybe he's one of those guys that needs to continue to develop, but he hasn't shown us much yet.
I'm going to add the Chiefs' defense to the Bud list.
The Chiefs are like,
For a little bit of a curveball of a reason.
y'all are going out.
Justin Fields came out yesterday and had a press conference where he probably went into a little bit too much detail and said one of the reasons he was struggling was because of coaching. Then he later clarified it with this quote. Take a listen. First things first, doing actually pretty well. What if we weren't? And someone asked me, why isn't first things first doing well? Wilds, why are you struggling? Why are you messing up your reads and doing all sorts of things wrong? I'm like, look, a lot of it has to do with, Nick Wright, Broussard, Greg. And then later on, I clarified. I'm like, no, man, my mistakes are my fault. I shouldn't have said that. I tell you one thing what will happen. You guys will be buttoned up the next show. Even though I kind of accidentally threw you under the bus, you would be buttoned up. It's not going to be me. It's going to be Wilds. So I'm expecting, even though it's kind of an unintended consequence of throwing the coaches under the bus, I think everybody will be a little bit more buttoned up. Watch out, Chiefs defense.
Can I just real quick?
Go ahead.
I actually agree with a lot of that.
About you being...
No.
Oh.
Do you remember last year when right before the Chiefs played the Broncos fired Nat Hackett?
Yeah.
I said it bummed me out because you're going to have a bit of a bounce. I think this week was so bad for the Bears and for embarrassing and for everything. I do think there's a chance that if it had just been a regular week, they would play like they played this past week. But given everything, Fields might freelance on his own, which is scarier. Like, I think there is some logic to it.
Well, he's definitely going to be taking off. I think he's going to be playing backyard football.
I do too.
I don't know that they. I mean, look, the Chiefs could lay an egg. We saw them do it last year against the Colts, but I'd be shocked if they can get.
But if it was close, I don't think Chiefs necessarily lose, but I think it's close.
They don't cover the spread.
I think it's close. I bet they have a good game. Okay, coming up next is Dion, or should Dion, think about going to the NFL? That's
Why would
first.
people be?
What?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.